Hello everyone, it's Jennifer McGuire and I'm doing a guest video for Studio Calico sharing some tips and tricks for using their newest card kit and add-on kit. And I'm going to show you how to do 3 different masking techniques using washi tape. So I created 3 different cards. Here's the first one where I did a mask frame. And here is the second where I did masking for the inking and masking for the flowers. And the third, I did a miter masking for the little corner of the lace frame that you see here. So first of all, I wanted to show you, this is the the washi tape that I'm using for masking. This comes in the card kit, and I just love the width of it. But you can do this with any washi tape, and it really is a great tool. I know a lot of people use it on cards, but it's also a great tool for stamping. So I'm going to go ahead and show you 3 different techniques to use washi tape for masking. The first technique is to do a masked frame. This is very basic and straightforward, but it's a great way to use your washi tape in a little bit different way. I have several pieces of the washi tape that I've actually used over and over again here. This is one of the great things about using washi tape for masking. You can use the pieces over and over again. Just stick them onto something and save them for later. I like the width of this because it'll put a nice frame around this note card. This is just a 5.5 by 4.25 inch white note card. I'm just going to go ahead and put the washi tape right up to the edge, and this way I know I get a nice even frame around all of the stamping that I'll do in the center. I'm going to use this great stamp set from the kit to do some building of flowers in this masked area here. I'm using Hero Art soft pull ink. You could use any ink you wanted to here. I just love how this ink will kind of stamp a little splotchy at first, but as it dries it'll become nice and even and solid. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp the largest flower image from this stamp set all around this open area. And I want to make sure that some of the flowers overlap with the edges there, because that helps give you a defined edge when you take off the washi tape. So I'm going in with a darker ink. This is Memento Luxe ink. Any darker ink would work here. I'm just going to stamp this right on top of the other, and I like that this flower just kind of builds with the other. There are many ways you can build the flowers in this stamp set. This is just the way I chose to do it for this card. So now that I have this, you can use a wet wipe to just kind of wipe off the washi tape so you don't smear ink anywhere, and then you can reuse it. I went ahead and stamped that same flower on a piece of typing paper, just a thin piece of paper, and I'm going to use this as a mask. So you see I've laid it over my flower down here. I'll use another piece of that washi tape just to kind of hold it in place, just so I can do some quick masking here. So I'm using Green Hills, which is another Hero Art shadow ink. I'm going to just go ahead and stamp this right over that mask. And the mask that I created will give a nice edge instead of overlapping the flowers. So you can see as I'm doing all this stamping, I'm making sure that my stamping does overlap with the framed washi edge that we have there, so that when I take it off, I'll have a nice crisp edge all around the stamping. Now I'll continue to add some leaves using this masking, and when I'm all done, I want to add a few things to fill in the spaces. There's this great kind of little image here. You see that looks like these little stems sticking out. This could be stamped in the middle of the flower, like right here, or in the middle of some of the other flowers in the stamp set, but I decided to kind of use it as little twigs and berries kind of sticking out from the flowers, just something different. I like that there's different images here to be used different ways. So I'm going to do some masking to make these look like they're coming out from behind the flower. And later I'll add little dots to the tip of these so that it looks like little berries. Then there's this great 3 circle stamp image in here that works great with the butter bar ink for little yellow flowers that are just kind of scattered in the background. Again, I'm being sure to stamp over that washi edge so that I get a nice defined edge when I take it off. So now it's time to take off this washi. I wasn't real careful to not tear it. If you wanted to reuse it again, you want to be careful not to tear it. It's pretty easy to do, but I had used that quite a bit, so I really didn't care. So now I'm going to use my powder tool. This is just an anti-static tool to kind of brush over it to make sure that when I use some white embossing powder over it, it doesn't stick everywhere. Now there's this little circle image that works perfect in the center of these flowers. I'm going to ink this up with Versamark ink and stamp it over the center of the flowers, and then add white embossing powder. If you don't have that anti-static tool, you can also rub over it with a dryer sheet. Sometimes that helps too. So after I've stamped the center of all these flowers, you can see I'm doing a little masking here so I don't go over the edge that we did before. I'm going to go ahead and add on my white embossing powder and zap it with a heat gun, and that'll give a nice crisp white center to all of these flowers. To kind of match that white embossing in the center, I'm putting little white dots in the center of these berries using my white gel pen. I just think those little dots of white really make the card pop. Now I decided to add a framed edge to this with my black pen. So I've got a T ruler here, and just any old black pen will work here. And I'm just going to go ahead and draw a nice thin frame around this. You could also use a scoring tool to do an embossed frame around it. There's lots of things you could do here, but sometimes I think a simple black line is all you need. For the greeting, I used one of the other stamp sets for this month. I really love these little banner greetings here. This one says hello inside the banner and there below it. I just want the hello of the banner. Now, I could have just inked the hello, but I went ahead and cut up the stamp. It really does no harm to the stamp. I can always put them back together how I want to. You could instead just ink up the hello if you wanted to, or turns out I'm going to go ahead and cut out this banner. So I could have just cut off the there. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this out using my scissors. You can just eyeball it and get it trimmed close enough to have a nice white trim, and then add that with foam dots to your card. Here I'm using an old stylus to add little dots of that dark blue color for the little berries on those little stems that I added. That's a great way to get more out of your tool, and you'll see me do it again later in the video. So there you have the first card where we did frame masking. Now for the second technique of masking with washi, I'm going to do masked inking. This is a great way to get a multicolor greeting like I did here with Every Flower Must Grow. There are a few different ways you could get these results, but I think with inked masking, you really get the best. So I have this greeting from the stamp set, and I'm going to use a piece of clean washi tape here to mask off the words so that I just have every showing. So I'm going to ink that up with Tide Pool Hero Arts ink. Any ink would be fine. Remove my washi tape and then stamp this onto white cardstock. So I have just one word inked up. Now I'm going to clean off the stamp a little bit. Then I'm going to put the washi on top of the word every, and then also over the word must, so that just the word flower is showing. This is a great way to just ink an image in different colors by masking off parts of the image. So I'm going to ink this up with the Green Hills ink. Take off the washi mask and then stamp this over. The nice thing is this is a clear stamp, so when I go to position this, I just have to line up the word every with what I already stamped, and I'll know that it's positioned perfectly. This also works great if, say, you have a big flower image and you want the petals to be green and the flower to be pink. You can mask off areas and then just stamp it a few times. Now for the word, I think this is every flower, for the word must, I'm using the yellow butter bar ink. I've masked off all the other words. I'll remove that. You'll notice I'll clean off my washi in between each step too. And I'll line up those words and just stamp the word must. So I decided to keep my greeting a little bit shorter and just put Every Flower Must Grow. And I'll ink up that last word again here with the Tide Pool ink once again, remove the masks, and you'll see I use those masks over and over again, and washi tape's perfect for that because it's nice and strong. So there we have the greeting, and I went ahead and trimmed that down. I'm going to put a little dot here that's at the center so that I can create a V very quickly here. So by having that dot in the center, I can cut from one corner to the dot, just do one cut line, then the other corner to the dot, and we have a nice quick V cut. If you have a square punch, you can also do it in the corner of a square punch too. I also decided to mat this with some teal cardstock, but I wanted to show you a bonus technique here, another way to use washi for masking. It's just for basic masking. And that's what I did for the flowers here. Remember how earlier I layered the light pool with the darker color on top of it? Here I wanted to put yellow in the center, so I masked the white around it. A great way to use washi for basic masking is to take a piece of your old sticker sheet. So this is a sticker sheet from the set. I'm not going to use this top part, but see this brown paper on the back? That's a great release paper. So I can stick my washi to it and it won't really stick to it. But that way I can hold the washi long enough to cut it into the shape I need. So let me show you how I did that. I'm going to go ahead and stick the washi onto that release paper. I'm just stamping my flower on here with any color. It doesn't matter what color you do here. Now I'm going to pick this up and go ahead and cut it out. By having it on that release paper, it's much easier to cut out than having this piece of washi tape kind of flapping around or putting it on a piece of paper that might tear when I take it off. So I'm just going to cut this with a little trim, wipe off that extra ink, and then watch my mask, my flower mask, will easily peel off that release paper. So keep all that release paper from all those sticker sheets that you have, because you'll never know, it may come in handy for something like this. So I'm going to go ahead and position that flower mask where I decide I want it to be. I want it peeking out from behind that banner. Now I have the bigger flower. I'm going to stamp this with Tide Pool ink right over it. And that little washi mask that we have under there will block that ink and allow there to be a nice white area in the center. So I'm going to use my craft knife to kind of peel it up and take it off of the area there. And there you see the area masked in the center. And later I can go stamp my flower with yellow ink right in the center there and it'll work perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat this for the other two flowers here. You'll see I used a little bit of washi there to prevent those two flowers from overlapping. And now I have my butter bar yellow ink, and watch, I can stamp right in the center of that masked area and it fits perfectly and I get that nice white trim. This is a great way to prevent overlapping of too much color. If I would have stamped yellow over blue, I would have ended up with the green center. So this is a great way to achieve that. I also use masking for the leaves over the flowers, and then I'm just going to use those little yellow dots to do a little triangle of color. I'm using the center of the flower here with some soft brown Hero Arts ink just to add a little touch to the middle, and you can see how fun it is to layer these. I'm using my stylus again with the soft brown ink to add little dots to those berries just for a little bit of look of dimension. So that card actually showed two techniques of using washi for masking, for the masked inking, for the gradient, and also for the masking on the flowers. So now the third card shows miter masking. If you know, mitering is when you take two pieces of wood and meet them at 90 degrees, and it gives this nice angled cut in the center. It's what I did for using the border stamp on this card. I really think this is a great way to get more out of your border stamps. So I have a card here that's 5.5 by 4.25. I'm going to use that reused washi once again to meet from one corner to the other corner, and then another piece of washi to go from the other corner to the last corner. So I have this masked area here over on the bottom. I'm going to turn my card. I'm using Hero Arts Shadow ink and a soft granite with this great lace border from the stamp set. You could do this with lots of different borders. I'm going to go ahead and stamp this along that edge there, and the masked area will give it a nice kind of angled edge. And I just use the trick of going from one corner to another because it will really give you a great mitered edge when we go ahead and stamp the next piece of lace. So I'm going to wipe off those washi strips a little bit, and now I'm going to line this back up from one corner to the other corner. And I'm going to use a pencil to mark where the corner was here so I can make sure that my next stamped image meets up nicely with the one I already did. You'll see that in a moment. Now I'll take the other piece of washi, put it corner to corner, mask that off. Now I'm going to make sure I'm going to put a few pieces of washi up here at the top because this border is a little bit too long. I don't want it to stamp where I don't want it to be. Make sure that my border lines up with that little pencil mark that I did. Stamp it over it, and then when I remove the washi tape here, I don't need to use these anymore, so it's okay if I tear them. You'll see that they meet in a nice mitered fashion there, right in the corner. Now I'm going to take the thanks greeting and stamp it with some bold black ink right up against the corner there. And then I wanted to show you how I created these little flowers here. It kind of covers up that mitered corner that I did with the masking, but I thought it'd be fun to add them anyways. This is one of the great patterns from the kit, pattern papers from the kit, and I'm just using a 1-inch circle punch to punch some circles and then go back and punch a few little oval shapes, these little leaf shapes. This is a great way to create some really cool graphic looking leaves very quickly. You can make them big or small. Then I just wanted to give a little defined edge to this. Look at that. By adding some ink to the edges, look how much it pops out against it as opposed to the ones without the ink. And I just used some distress ink for that. After I've glued them in place, I'm just going to take these little guys from the card kit, these little enamel dots, and add them right to the card. You'll see I colored some of them with black for a different card. Just ignore those. Went ahead and added some of the colored ones, and there we have a really quick and fast card. Now I had some ink where I didn't want it, so one of my favorite tricks is to use my white gel pen to cover it up and nobody will ever know. So there you have using washi tape for miter masking. I hope this inspires you to use that washi tape in a different way as a tool for masking. If you have any questions, please head to studiocalico.com or you can visit me at my blog at jennifermcguireinc.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy these awesome kits.